Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. In today's episode, I'm going to speak on making better judgments. And this begins with understanding that there's this difference between making a helpful judgment and then a non-beneficial judgment. And what it comes down to is that theme. Is this going to help me in some way? Or like gossiping, criticizing others, it has no benefit, so there's no need to do it. One judgment which every human is going to make over and over is the gauging of value. And this is amusing. I was speaking with someone this week, and their definition of value was so different from my definition of value. So, something helpful in today's society, especially, is making sure that whoever you're speaking with has the same definition of the word that your conversation is sprouting from. Because if you have a foundation which is weak, which could be the concept that you're speaking on, and having differing definitions of that concept is going to lead to a broken conversation. It'll lead to disconnect, and that compounds. The theme, though, is you don't build a mansion on a sandy foundation. If your foundation is weak, everything that comes from that will be weak as well. So, whatever the theme is, we want to make sure that our cornerstone is sturdy. In this specific example was the definition of the concept which your conversation is based upon. So a few questions that I think are amazing for gauging value. Is it sustainable? See, if you are doing something in a manner which is not sustainable, well, eventually you burn out. And when you burn out, you pretty much say goodbye to all of your effort and all the hard work. That's a fine line. Sometimes we have seasons and you do an act, a habit, and it's beneficial for a period of time. And then eventually you figure out, well, you're in a new season, a different stage of life, and that old habit or act, it is no longer needed to be done as frequently. Or yeah, there's a fine line, and we have to be open-minded to consider that. I love this principle. What got you to where you are currently, ideally you're in a positive place, might not be what you need to get to your next level. And see, this is something I've been chewing on lately is, yeah, we're always learning, we're always growing, but does there come a point where becoming too obsessed with growth is a problem? That point for me would be if you're not able to enjoy your journey. If you're so obsessed with growing and improving, getting this status, building your business, if you're so obsessed with where you're going and you don't enjoy where you are right now, then you're falling into a trap. And the trap is we have goals, and essentially the analogy would be there's a flagpole in the distance and you want to get to that flagpole, but then you get there and immediately you don't admire your small win or your big win, and immediately you're going, where's the next flagpole? Where's the next goal? What am I doing next? And this is the trap. This is the trap of modern culture and society, because what they preach is materialistic, shallow games. And what a peaceful, truly enjoyable life is founded upon is not that. What it is meaningful connections in a way where you are providing value, you're serving others in some manner, which has turned into an enjoyable act for you. See, if you're helping others, but you don't learn how to enjoy it, that's not good. The magic happens when you realize what you're meant to do. See, humans are not meant to only be selfish, but the paradox is you can never care about others without being selfish, because intrinsically you have goals and desires. And if you don't achieve your things, then you can never share anything with other people of a positive nature, because you'll always have that envy, that darkness inside of you, knowing that you didn't become what you could have became. And when you take the time to invest in yourself, only then can you share the beauty of life, which is, oh, I've done something. I've gone from here, which was not too good. Now I'm at a way more enjoyable place. And if you're interested, if you're willing to, willing, not the right word, if you're looking, seeking to make your life better, well, this is how I did that, and this is how I did this. And now you're actually providing value in a great way. So I'll end that tangent there. It's very interesting how culture and society has the game mixed up. They just don't understand what true internal peace is and what the goal of life is, or the meaning. It's not to impress other underdeveloped egos. I'm not going to get into what the ego is. I'll have future episodes on that, or yeah, who knows? Maybe I can get a bit better at linking to other episodes which have touched on a certain topic. But long story short, your ego is your sense of I, who you are. And certain people have underdeveloped egos where they have groupthink, me versus you, I'm better than this way. For example, this religion is better than this religion. That is the mind of an underdeveloped ego. Only very underdeveloped people are thinking like that. Open-minded, developed minds understand that there are many routes to creating an amazing life. There are many avenues towards having a positive influence on this world and leaving it better than when you came in. So pay attention to that. Notice when you're in contact with an underdeveloped mind versus a open, developed mind. Because, like Jim Rohn says, you are the sum of the minds that you surround yourself with. So, get away from those other people. And, well, that's your choice for sure. But just make your choice, whatever you want, really. You will reap what you sow. And linking to that principle is the concept that certain judgments are useless. Gossiping, criticizing, judging others in a demeaning manner. These things are useless. Why? You have limited energy, mental capacity, energy, same thing. And when you are using your focus and energy in that negative way, which is not beneficial to you or anyone else, you therefore are wasting energy. Energy is the foundation to life. And if you use your energy intentionally, you will reap good rewards. And other spectrum, you use it like a fool, you will have a foolish life, a low quality mind, chaotic, stressful. I don't know who wants that. It's just that people aren't conscious enough to see what they're doing. See, they're trapped in their own drama. They are addicted to their own petty games of just playing shallow, egotistical, immature games. And for me, I've came to the situation where, oh, I want to help people get out of their own way, right? Make it so that they're not addicted to their own drama, and therefore they begin to work on themselves and feel better overall, generate that self-belief through their actions and thoughts. It's a feedback loop. You have good actions, you start to feel good. When you feel good, you usually think good. When you think good, you take more good actions. Feedback loop. Same thing goes if you just replace the good with negative. Feedback loop. So it's absolutely crucial for us to realize how what we do links to what we get. And this comes in many forms. It could be thoughts, actions, or etc. But the bottom line is that we have to understand there is a limited time and there's limited energy. So what's the difference between someone who is miserable in life and then a being who is peaceful, proud of themselves, enjoys their moments? The difference is one person was more intentional with the investment of their time and energy, while the other got trapped into the average mediocre route, which is distraction on the weekends, work a soul-sucking job during the week, and when you get home from work, just kind of numb yourself, watch TV, distract your mind, and then you never actually figure out you have natural talents. See, the trick is that every human being on this planet has a specific purpose, and we're all going to have different skill sets, different talents. And the people who figure the game out, they realize that they do have these talents, and that as life goes by, they listen to their gut feelings, they listen to their intuition. That there's two parts of us. We have one part which is the rational thinker, the thinking mind, the materialistic mind. And then we have this part which is very intuitive. It sort of gets these weird feelings like, example, you ever have this situation where you lock eyes with another person because they were staring at you? It's like they were looking at you maybe for 2 seconds, maybe for 10 seconds. Doesn't matter. But something in you knows, something in you just goes, whoop. And you didn't think about that. You didn't have this thought process. Someone's staring at me and I'm going to look at them. You don't have that. What happens is something deeper is going on. That is your intuition, your gut feel. And the beings who are capable of tuning in to their gut feel and intuition, how do you do this? Well, first of all, those beings, that's sort of how you get where you need to be in life. But how do you strengthen the connection with your intuition? There's many different things. The foundation is eating the right foods, which allow for a clear mind, and doing the healthy actions, meaning you're not participating in actions which bring you guilt and regret. Simply put, if an action leads you to feel negative, guilt, or regret afterward, that's a great indicator. It means no more of that, essentially. And, this is the trouble with addiction. The addiction, the instant pleasures, the cheap dopamine, it pleases one side of us, but the intuitive side, it displeases. And the other side, the materialistic, the instant gratification desiring side, that side gets pleased. But then the truth is, your thinking mind is amazing if it is your servant, the servant to your intuition. When you get this stuff switched up, that's what hell is. Hell is not somewhere down below. Hell is here when you have done the wrong actions which create a miserable state of mind. That is what hell is. And what heaven is the opposite. It's when you are in line with your intuitive feel. You're doing the right actions, and when you do the right actions, you get rewarded with clarity, and the clarity gets you more in touch with your intuition. And then you realize, wait, I don't have to think nearly as much as I thought. More so, I just have to focus my attention on the moment, like be here now. When you do that, oh my gosh, you stress less. You realize you're heading the right direction. You feel better on a minute-to-minute basis. And therefore, you extend your life. Everything gets better because stress is probably the number one killer. I don't think there's anything worse than that. And when we figure out how to reduce our stress drastically and just enjoy our life, well, I just don't know what else is more important than that. There's this difference. See, I'm very keen on using language in a specific, detailed manner. And what this looks like is, okay, what are you doing? Are you living or are you existing? Many humans are simply existing. They're not truly thriving. So there's these stages. Stage one is the victim mentality. It's like, oh, life is so hard, and you see a situation that's happening to you. This person honked at me. Oh, traffic's so bad. It's happening to me. Like, shut up. And then you go from victim to survival. So survival is like, I'm grinding, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm serious. These people, they still aren't enjoying life. They're still rushing around. They're still panicked. They're still overthinking and stressing. They don't have it figured out. And I don't have it figured out either. But what I'm sharing with you is how I've started to figure it out. And I bet you I will finish my life not figuring things out. But what I'm expressing here is my life used to be so much worse than it is now. It's not that my life's perfect. I don't have it all figured out. Never let me fool you into that. I'm just sharing how I became much more peaceful and started to actually enjoy my life, which, holy shit, it's interesting how it goes. So interesting. But once you're working through the survival stage, see, I say materialism in more of a negative connotation, but the truth is, I'm a huge fan of material success. Huge respect for certain status symbols and labels. The trouble comes when you don't realize that you're more than that. See, I'm a doctor, and then you just totally attach to being a doctor. You don't know how to talk about different things. All you do is doctor. That's all you do. That's all you are. That's the problem. Same thing goes with any label. Once you put yourself in a box, you've pretty much done yourself in. Rather, if you realize, hey, I'm a doctor, but I'm also a nutritionist and I'm an open-minded individual. I consider other people's perspectives. I'm a businessman too. I'm also interested in nature. I respect taking care of ecology and systems. I could respect your hobbies, your painting. Maybe I don't paint, but I could see the skill set, the flow state that you have to operate from to paint such beautiful pictures. You get what I'm saying. What I'm saying here is you can have a status, a label, but the moment that you close your mind to thinking that your status, your label is any better than another, that's your trap. That's where you're stuck. And the third stage is thriving. So the thriving mind is considerate. It says, well, I'm at this mountain, but I see there's another mountain pretty much equally high. And well, I got to this mountain through this route, but I can imagine that since your mountain's over there, you're going to have to take a different route than I did. So, hey, we're both at the top of mountains, but we understand not everything that works for me is going to work for you. And that's why I'm not very obsessed with like saying, eat this, do this. Like, I realize, hey, there's a foundation. What I say is source your animals from a humane place. Make sure you're not supporting factory farming. Balance, have variety. Don't get too stuck in any place. Be an athlete, lift some weights, but also run a little bit. If you're only biking, learn how to throw some punches, throw some kicks. If you've been doing jujitsu forever, maybe try doing something else. The thriving individual is someone who just sees the beauty in expansion, in the acquisition of skills, in the magic of the fundamental details, in what Bruce Lee says. I'm much more intimidated by a man who's practiced one kick 1,000 times in comparison to the man who's practiced 1,000 kicks one time. So the theme, it's the magic's in the details, baby. Like, we have to understand that what society preaches to be successful is pretty much the opposite of success. Materialistic success is important, but if you have not mastered your mind, oh my gosh, you're trapped. So what we have to do is understand what the core principles are. What is the foundation to becoming free? And yeah, that was a nice tangent. Details truly are important, and especially when we talk about believing in yourself. This is an interesting topic because people get it so mixed up. I'm not a huge fan of affirmations, like I'm attracting wealth, because it it just it's sort of a tricky idea. If you're attracting something, it kind of ensues that you aren't responsible for taking certain actions. And the truth is, so many people fall into the trap of education without execution. And you get somewhere by taking action. The best way for you to learn is to start now. See, if you wait, you fall into this trap, which is, I'll begin once I know this. I'll begin once I do this. And then it's just procrastination, and you are delaying your success. You're slowing yourself down so much by procrastinating. And what we want to understand is the power of language and the power of details. So if you understand that the principle is I'm learning as I go, the experience is the best teacher, you're going to be more likely to take the action. And then on top of that principle understanding, you realize you're not going to use certain words. Try, could, would, only if. You use certain language and it destroys your potential. Because so I made a differentiation earlier about how we sort of have our higher self and we have our ego materialistic mind. Another differentiation, which I just forgot what I wanted to say. I think I wanted to say something about the difference between try and I'm going to. It's about realizing what language leads you to. When you say you're going to try something, you leave the door open to not execute, to not do it. You try it, but you don't actually put your 100% effort into the thing. Meanwhile, you use words like I'm going to, I will. It's so subtle, and it is so important to understand what this is the differentiation I wanted to say. The difference between your rational mind and your subconscious mind. So it's interesting. You could call it the gut feel, the intuition, or the subconscious mind. But your subconscious is so much more powerful than the rational mind. I believe a statistic, this is, ballpark average, but the subconscious mind can process about 100 times the amount of micro bits of information in comparison to the rational mind. So that's a drastic increase. That's crazy. And what the subconscious is, it's not your rational mind. There is something continuously listening. You could call it awareness, your subconscious, whatever label you want to use. But the point is, it's so valuable when we begin to understand how deep the mind is, that every little bit that you hear, every energy that you surround yourself with, it is affecting you in some way or another. And poof, poof, the magic truly is in the details. This theme, it comes up often. We all have the same 24 hours, yet some people's lives differ so much due to how intentionally they invest their time and energy. And this links to the idea, which is, how do we gauge what actions are high leverage and not high leverage? In case you're unfamiliar, how I would define high leverage is, it's an act which is going to help you in many different areas of your future. Meanwhile, low leverage is the opposite. It's like you're doing something, it's an act, but it isn't going to have many benefits or positive side effects. It's just sort of a usage of your time. It's a usage of your time in comparison to a high leverage act, which I would label a investment of your time. So some people use this language. I'm going to kill time. I'm going to spend time. Ooh, that's very unhealthy. Rather, we look at time and energy as something that is invested. So we're intentional with where we place our attention, where our mind is focused. It's very powerful when you make these small shifts. You realize, I'm actually in control of my attention. For example, why do you think Facebook, well, not Facebook, but Twitter, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, these attention grabbing things, why do you think they're so viral? It's because attention is the greatest currency. If you can hook people in, if you have people's attention, that's life. There's nothing more important than energy and attention or focus. That's interesting. It's like, if you are placing your focus and you're watching the news. I do not watch the news. If you want to feel horrible, watch the news. That's all I could leave you with. And it's just the theme, which is, you feel what you focus on. And the news is filled with fear. They do that on purpose, okay? There's a reason behind it. And that's unfortunate, right? It's unfortunate, but it's our job to become aware of how the game works. We feel what we place our attention on. And if we're going to focus on education, positive things, building, growing, having a healthy mindset, we're going to attract more of that nature. Same thing goes if you're going to focus on fear, panic, worry, things that you don't control. There's things happening. Like in Gambia, there are people are starving every day. People are every minute. People are dying to starvation, and this is in my heart. I feel it, but I don't think about that all day because I cannot directly affect it just yet, and it's in my mind. I know there's a way that I can help, but what I'm describing here is, there is not a benefit in focusing on that which you can't control. So I don't want you to block out the dark truths of the world. Like, there are people still slaving away. We just don't see it on the news. They don't put this stuff on the news. They just preach fear. They don't want to give you the hard truth on the news. They just want to make you scared so that you sit in your comfort zone and that you're a good little pawn, a good servant for the corporations. I digress. But it's heartbreaking because there are people in these minds, and it's like the same stuff that happened in Russia in the gulags, the same Holocaust stuff. What happened in Nanking in Japan. Long story short, if you don't know what happened in those places, it was terrible treatment of humans. Humans in Russia, they had to work in the winter in -50 degrees with, a t-shirt on or nothing, no shoes. And they just did this to people. Stalin thought it was all okay. And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking because me in America, as an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old, I was so ungrateful. And I could still have moments where I'm like, I get trapped in my ego, my sense of I. And I'm like, oh, how come that tweet didn't perform better? Like, bro, so many minds are focused on the smallest bullshit. Rather, there are things happening in our world that if you invest your time and energy with intention, you can actually help change this world. You can save families if you build yourself into the person who is valuable and therefore attracts more value. And then your whole life starts to compound. And before you know it, you're internally peaceful, but you're also materialistically wealthy, not just having money, but you're wealthy. What's the difference between having money and being wealthy? The difference is someone who's wealthy has internal peace and materialistic success. On the other hand, someone who has money, it doesn't have the internal peace. They're always thinking, they're always stressed. They haven't figured out how to breed peace. And therefore, they only have money, but that money doesn't fill the void in their heart. One of the highest leverage tasks any human can do is to look within, to figure out why you feel how you feel. Ooh, that's a toughie, because in the short term, it's much easier not to do that. In the short term, it's easier to surround yourself with people continuously. Therefore, you're always distracted and never focused on your internal emotions. This is a pandemic. Many humans lack emotional know-how. They don't realize that they could feel better and that it's not that far away. Oof, it's tough because one part of me knows how many hours it took to become who I am today. But then another part of me realizes, well, now that I know what works, it actually isn't that complicated. But it took me thousands of hours to figure out through trial and error what works. And yeah, I've paid some people, I've made some investments in myself, which have saved me a good amount of time. That being said, I still did a lot of the trial and error route. And one of the most important topics that I want to nail is that closed-mindedness is the most destructive force to humanity. There's nothing more destructive than human beings who are operating from a closed mind. When you don't remain open, you limit yourself drastically. And you put yourself in a box, essentially, a box that it shrinks and shrinks throughout time, because you are meant to be expanding, meant to learn new practical skills, to unlock and deprogram certain beliefs. One topic that is super important is the idea, the concept of unlearning. What happens from about age 0 to 20 is we're programmed. Just as a computer has software running, our mind has software or programs running. And this is perception. It's what you see. So you and I, we could both be looking at a physical situation, and both of us could see the same physical situation, but our minds, due to our programming that's been installed from whatever age to where you are now, due to that programming, you are going to see the situation in a different light than I see it. Who knows? Sometimes humans have similar programming and they're on that same level. But often our perception differs. So we see it completely differently. And if you have an open mind, you say, wait, I saw it like this, but I'm interested. Why or how did you end up seeing it that way? Well, what do you think? And it's just, I don't care about other people's opinions, but I am interested in them, right? So it's not that my ego is so inflated that I think everything I spew out of my mouth is valuable. Not at all. I repeat myself. I say stupid shit. Sometimes I say wise things every once in a while. But the theme is that we need to be capable of like laughing at ourselves, be open to the point that we realize there's so much that we don't know. And sure, like where I'm at now is way better than I've ever been before. I feel way better, but that doesn't mean that I know everything. And I just, the closed-minded trap is so horrible. You ever come across someone and they just know everything? Like my sister's like this. And hey, I'm learning to accept her as she is because I realize, well, she has a closed mind, and good luck to you, Justin, if you try to force change upon someone else. There's nothing more foolish than that. When you try to force others to do or become something, you're making a mistake, because on the bigger picture, when we zoom out large enough, everything is perfect. Like everything is as it's meant to be. But that's big picture. That's not from the human heart, because I just expressed to you, my heart breaks for everyone who is starving right now. And I know there are millions starving to death, dying right now. It's hard to even say that. I want to give you a few questions and examples that if you take a pen and paper and just journal about these questions for 25 minutes, you'll feel better, promise. What are your highest leverage tasks? For me, these involve things like eating healthily, knowing when to eat what. For example, in the morning when I'm using my mind, like right now, this is pretty much empty stomach because you have limited energy, and your digestive system, it takes a lot of energy. So if you can allow your digestive system to be empty when you want to use your mind, you're going to get more out of your mind. And another high leverage task, like going to the gym. I love to have that energy get expressed early in the day. It sets the tone, makes me feel great. Another high leverage task is doing what I'm doing here, or writing, or reading, doing outreach for my coaching business. Shameless plug. If you're interested, like we can transform your life. I don't want to guarantee it because it depends on you and where you're at. So I can't work with everyone. I need people who have open minds. I need people who are willing to get uncomfortable. I need people who are willing to make changes, because when you make changes, you get uncomfortable, and you're going to have to, well, how do I phrase this correctly? The key is that we're going to become more intentional with how you use your energy and your focus. That's the key. If that sounds good to you, if you're interested at all in transforming your life, it's a 6-month program, not some, magic pill. I don't do the work for you. All I do is save you a lot of time. If you're interested, link in description. And what task do you waste time on that are low leverage? Some examples of my past were watching porn, eating junk food, and watching entertainment. Scrolling is a big one, I know, for a lot of people. Overthinking. This is a big one. It's when you're thinking about things that you're not doing. So what anxiety is a delusion of the future in a negative manner. And for the most part, this is what thinking is, anxiety. So the less that you think, the more peaceful you feel. So the question comes down to, how do we figure out how to think less? That's a tough one, but this is what meditation has unlocked for me. Meditation is the focusing of your attention. And through training your ability to focus over time, extended period of time. Each day you show up, you do your meditation. You don't scroll. See, it's the combination of training your focus and then not being distracted. You combine that and you get clarity, and then you get internal peace from your clarity. This is a long process. It takes patience, balance, and reflection. But if you want to stress less, if you want to think less and actually enjoy your life, then learning how to meditate and just continuously practicing is going to be a game changer. Like, I started years ago. The first one I ever listened to was a guided meditation by Rupert Spira. And, there's many different teachers, but you can start off with guided meditations and just do a couple minutes. See, what I want you to know about meditation is having thoughts is not a problem. What meditation does for you is a process. You have to realize it doesn't happen quickly, but as you persist and show up and do it consistently, you're going to feel your mind is more clear. You'll just feel it. And, well, this is how it worked for me. I got into it, did it for a bit, fell off. Same thing. That cycle happened probably 3 times. And now I'm at a point where it's just a staple. I'm not going to give you like a milestone or anything, but I've been doing it for a bit, like every day consistently for over a year, 30 minutes every morning. It's just a priority for me. And you got to realize, what are your priorities, That's what life comes down to, and the intention, the energy, the investment rather than spending time. What are your priorities? What are your priorities? When someone says that they don't have time for something, it's just a lazy way to say it's not my priority, So, that's important. Like, if someone is your priority and they're not giving you that energy back, you got to realize you're drowning yourself. You're really hurting yourself by chasing after other people. That's so destructive for you because it devalues your worth. You don't need people if they don't, and you don't need anyone. What all the healthiest connections come from is, I'm good without you, you're good without me, but hey, we kind of like being around each other, so why not? Let's make this as enjoyable as possible. Yeah, let's continue to grow together. That's what a good relationship is. It's not the BS, which is, oh, I need you. I love when you need me. Oh my God, that is so toxic. It's so pathetic. Oh, but hey, whatever suits you. If you want to be wrapped up in your own drama, I need you, you need me, do whatever you'd like. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to share with you how I made my life much better than it used to be. And if that sounds good to you, well, then maybe you test out some of the things you hear. That's all. So these questions, they're helpful too. What don't you want to become? Figure that out and reverse engineer from there. And what habits do you need to drop? Simply put, delete distraction. Whatever takes you away from being focused on the moment, it's probably got to go. It's all in your time, though. So if you found value, if this was enjoyable, helpful, just help me out with the algorithm so more people can get helped. And if you have a takeaway, like a feedback, I'm open-minded. You can give me whatever feedback you'd like, but I would love to hear it. So reply below. And lastly, if you know a person in your physical reality that might be interested, that might benefit, just do us both a favor, you and I, just share it with them. See if they're interested. Tell them like why you liked it, why you think they might like it. Don't just send them the link and say nothing. Hope this was valuable. I appreciate you deeply, and until next week, have a good one.